Well, my friends, welcome back to another Bitcoin question and answer section. And just remember, if you have doubts, if you have questions about this utterly new protocol and technology, you are not alone. Nobody gets this the first time it is presented. It is completely natural to question it, to have your doubts and not understand it. My job is to answer these questions, which frankly, I have a lot of fun doing. Today's question came from multiple people. What happens when the last Bitcoin is mined? What keeps the network alive? And who sets the transaction fees? Well, to backtrack a little bit, the Bitcoin network is bootstrapped by the fact that people have the incentive to mine. Mining consists of guessing at a mathematical problem. Essentially, the more electricity you use, which protects the network, it keeps track, it protects the ledger so it's incorruptible. The more electricity you use, the more guesses that you get at solving this incredibly complicated math problem. And this solution is programmed to take place every 10 minutes based on the presumed amount of electricity that is used towards protecting the network as a whole. Now, the beauty of this is that it adjusts, I think it's every 2 weeks that the difficulty adjusts to account for increased or decreased amounts of hash power. Hash power is just a fancy term to describe the number of guesses and the amount of electricity that is being used, once again, to protect the ledger. Now, the block reward subsidy decreases every 4 years. This is called the halving. It started at 50. 4 years later, it went to 25. Back then, Bitcoin was far more easy to mine. And as the price of Bitcoin increased, you had more and more operators come on and trying to earn the block rewards, thus extending the protection of the network as a whole, and the price of Bitcoin continued to rise. So by the year 2140, all of the coins that will have been released by the network as an incentive will have been mined. And in each block rewards are the transaction fees that people pay in order to get their transaction verified and completed. It is the same if you send $1 billion worth of Bitcoin as if you send $1. And transaction fees, in all likelihood, will continue to rise as the number of Bitcoins released continues to decrease. At the end, in the year 2140, you are going to have the protection of the network completely covered by the transaction fees. The transaction fees, nobody knows how much it's going to be. But by that time, it is very likely that Bitcoin will be considered the prime property on the face of the planet. And if you were to sell a property in New York, a penthouse apartment today, it very well might cost you in excess of $1 million. Now, that doesn't preclude the fact that Bitcoin will be used for small payments because you will have layer 2 networks, maybe layer 3 networks that are built on top of the protocol. Today, this is Lightning and this is Fediment that will reduce the transaction fees and ease Bitcoin to be used for the masses because nobody can afford to pay $20 for each transaction when you're purchasing a cup of coffee. That would be ludicrous. So with the advent of the layer 2, layer 3 networks, the prices of transacting in Bitcoin are dropping precipitously to the point of being nearly free and instantaneous. Right now, that is still being perfected. And on the Bitcoin network, it is still at least approximately 10 minutes for your transaction to be verified. Now, you can always set your fee to be lower than what is currently being accepted, and then your transaction will go into some form of purgatory until the demand for verification on the blockchain drops and some miner will put your fee, take your transaction and your fee and put it into the next block to be mined. But in the year 2140, once again, it will be completely transaction fee based. And in an effort to move massive amounts of money around on the layer 1 network, not using the layer 2 network, not using layer 3, these will be big transactions, and there will be likely, in comparison today, hefty fees that will be charged. And for the history of Bitcoin, the block reward, that the extra Bitcoin that is released every 10 minutes as an incentive, has always been the predominant driver in terms of the outlays that are going to the miners, except for a brief period of time when the transaction fees were like $20, $25 a piece in order to be verified, not so long ago, maybe a year and a half ago or something like that. And at that moment, the transaction fees actually surpassed the block rewards that were being issued. So I hope that this explains a little bit. You will still be able to operate using the layer 2 networks, and the blockchain base fee will be utilized for larger transactions, and the fees will be much more sizable than they are today, where you can still often get by for less than $1 worth of fees. But when you're trading $10 worth of Bitcoin, that just takes a huge chunk out of it and makes it absolutely not worth it, which is why layer 2 has been developed. If you got something out of this, thumb up this video and leave me a question that I can answer as best I can in the comments section, and I will do my best to get to it. Have a fantastic day.